Okay. So number 13, you're considering this function here. And what is this based off of? Identify the common function has been shifted, reflected, stretched, or compressed. On the reference sheet, there's a little box of common functions on the reference sheet. It gives you a list of them. It's the absolute value of x is what this is based off of. See that little box down at the bottom? And it says y equals absolute value of x. That's what it's based off of. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to graph this. And hit y equals, absolute value is under math, num, and it's the first one here. Num, yeah. Oh, thank you. It won't be any less blurry. But anyways, so y equals, and you go to where I say math, num. Put our x in, and hopefully you all know it's going to be that v, right? The flying v, like that. That's what you're going to compare this graph to this one. So now I'm going to plug this one in and see what happens. So it's 2 minus parenthesis absolute value of x, x minus 1 divided by 2. And here's what I'm going to suggest you do before you go and do this. I'm going to suggest that you take a guess at what's going to happen here. Don't hit the graph button and then guess at what happened. It's better if you guess at what's going to happen, and that way you kind of understand which way you think's going to happen. The ABS x minus 1 should move that from here. The minus 1 part should move it which way? This way 1? Okay, so it should move it this way 1. What about the minus in front here? Because it's being subtracted, right? What is it going to do? The minus right here? It's going to flip it. See, I could have wrote this, instead of it being 2 minus this, I could write it negative this plus 2. The plus 2 actually shifts it up 2. But what's going to happen, though, is that minus flips it upside down. So it's going to be moved to the left, and up 2, and upside down. And the 2 there is either going to make it narrower or wider. Which one did it do? Compressed it? Okay. So, did it shift horizontally? Yeah. It went to the right 2 units. I'm sorry, 1 unit. Stretch or compress? What kind of factor did it compress it by? 1/2. X-axis reflection? Did it flip over the x-axis? Yeah. Y-axis? No. Vertical shift, up or down? It went up. How many units? 2. So, we're going to use this idea here to figure out what the domain and range are. So, domain of the brown thing here was all real numbers. The domain is still all real numbers. It says symbol notation, so we're just going to do it. Range. The range was from 0 to infinity. That's what it was. Oh yeah. Good call. Would I use a bracket here for the range on the brown guy from 0? The original, the brown one? Yeah. To begin with, you'd use a 0, but then when I go to infinity, no. So if I shift this thing to the left, it doesn't affect the range. It doesn't affect anything. But if I go up with it, that affects the range. And it gets flipped. That really affects the range. So really now I'm coming in from the negative part, and I'm going to stop at 2. Gosh, darn it. And then we'll stop at 2. And would I bracket that in? Yes. So you got to use your ideas of how did that move up and down and reflect to understand it. And if you're just sitting here trying to look at this graph going, oh, I think it went, I don't know what it did. So use the graph to kind of help you but not do the problem. Yeah. I got it because it was over 2. So the question was, where did I get the 1/2 from? You could rewrite that as negative 1/2 absolute value of x minus 1 plus 2. You see how you have a 1/2 out here? Multiplying by 1/2 is the same as dividing by 2. So if I was to change that 1 right there to say a 7, that still would not change that 1/2 there. It's not 7/2 because that 1 here is not that 1 right there. But if it's a 3 down here, in the bottom it'd be a 1/3. Yeah. If I had a number out in front, then it would change this number. There's a 1 right here that's not written, and that's where that 1 comes from. Okay. Check to make sure I did that right, by the way. And the key, make sure we did that right. Compress and stretch. I hate to post this on YouTube if you're wrong. I'd hate to lie on the internet. No one lies on the internet. Is it a compress factor 1/2? Okay, just making sure. And we got one more step to it. It says determine the intervals of increasing and decreasing on this function. So where is it increasing and decreasing? Well, if I was drawing this, I'd have to draw up from here to here. That's increasing from negative infinity to 1. I'm talking about like off the x-axis here. And then I have to draw down from 1 to positive infinity. So from this side of the graph over here is increasing. And then this side over here would be decreasing. And then do what? You had negative 1? Oh, okay. Yeah. I couldn't believe you write something down wrong. Look at me. Look up everything. Okay.